Hi guys, this is Alexandra from Mason Lifestyle. Welcome back to the channel. I took a little time off last week. My daughter and I decided to take a little road trip for a day, and it was just so fun just to get away. We went to a little quaint town that is on the northwest part of Illinois, and we did antiquing, we grabbed some bites, we hiked, and we just did this for a day. We had a great time. We laughed so much. I looked for vintage patterns or just discarded patterns, but guys, I didn't find any, which is amazing. Actually, I found a few, but not in my size, so I decided perhaps I'm gonna leave them behind. I also got myself a little pumpkin from a Wren in the Willows, which is a little company that I kind of try to buy some of their items every time I go over there, and it's always so fun to see it. But I don't know if you guys have you felt about summer. It feels like this summer I have really slowed down on the amount of sewing that I've been wanting to do, and I've talked to some other makers that have felt a little bit of the same way, or perhaps they're sick, or they're just too busy with the kids. But I have felt that this summer I have really slowed down on the amount of sewing that I want to do, or that I'm just like motivated that I want to do. But with that being said, I have been doing a little sewing in ways of making a muslin. I made two muslins last week, and I made one muslin for the Fira dress, and I'll put a picture of it. It's from Liesel and Company, and I told you guys in one of my planning videos that I was going to make this dress, and I had purchased this beautiful sage green linen, and I have just enough. I think I bought 3 yards of it. So if I wanted to make something else, there's 3 yards of it, and that's great. But I decided to make a muslin. And guys, I'm not going to put a picture here because I don't know if YouTube is going to block my picture. The muslin fabric that I purchased is rather see-through, so my underwear kind of shows a little, and so does my bra. Perhaps I may put it on my blog. We'll see. Um, but it doesn't look good. It's not a flattering style for me. And looking into it, there's also a lot of adjustments that have to be made. Like and I'm going to keep that picture up, but the neckline needs to come down a little, looks a little bit too modest. Um, the um, the armhole is too low, so you almost see my bra, which is a huge no. I just think that that looks terrible. And I also have to make a sweep back adjustments. I have to lower the darts. So once I looked at the muslin with the first set of adjustments that I knew I needed to make, I just looked at it and I decided that this style is just not for me. So I went ahead and just kind of put that off to the side. And if I do come back to this pattern, it's probably going to be for the top, but definitely for the dress, it's a no. And I'm glad I'm in the muslin, and I'm glad I didn't use my beautiful light green sage fabric because it's so pretty. So I don't want to mess it up with that. Um, but then this past weekend, right, last week, I saw some of McCalls patterns and they were on sale this week. So I decided to pick up this Learn to Sew pattern. It's M8325. And I decided to do this honeycomb view, but with the sleeves, right? And have you guys seen this pattern? It's a Learn to Sew pattern. It's got no buttons. It's got no zipper. It's got none of that scary jazz that a beginner would be like, oh my God, no, I gotta run away. But the ease on this pattern, and thank you to, Design Group for putting ease in the back of the envelopes. It's so nice to see those now. But for my size, right? I have a bust of 40, 44, 45. They would have put me at double XL, and the ease on the bust is 67.5 inches. So you guys do the math, it's a ton. For the waist is 71 inches. So I'm like, okay. I thought about perhaps buying the next range of this pattern and just going down one range. But I actually chatted with the designer of the pattern over on Instagram, and I said, hey, um, the ease on this pattern is quite a bit, obviously, because you have to do some pin tucks, and the pin tucks release right at your bust. So, and obviously on a pattern like this, you want to make sure that you have, and this is my muslin, and you want to make sure that in a pattern like this that you fit your shoulders, right? You fit your shoulders, and then the rest will come through. So she had mentioned, she said, if you're making view A, which is really cute, and I saw someone else on Instagram make it out of Ray and Shally, and she looked beautiful. So I said, I'm taking the plunge. I'm going for it. Less than 2 yards. It was like 1 yard and 7/8. And I suspect I could have made this with 1.5 yards. Anyways, I went ahead and I started making the pattern. I went down 2 sizes, the size large. And again, this is some fabric that I had laying around, and I was able to piecemeal this together. But again, I'm glad I made this muslin, guys, and I am not wearing this because I look 7 months pregnant with this pattern. I should have known, right? The ease of the bust, but I'm thinking, I can fix that. I can just pull it in on the sides. But actually, the pattern has side, these side pieces. You can take it in some more, but then the pleats at the front start opening some more. So just in a way, it just defeats the purpose of taking it in on the sides. I can also stitch all the way down. I thought about that too, but I'm thinking, stop, right? Stop. The intended design for this pattern is completely now gone, and I'm really at this point, I'm kind of wrestling with it. And I wrote a blog post about this, and I put some more information, but the sleeves are iffy on it too. I have to make more adjustments. And that's when I have to tell myself, right, is this pattern properly drafted? And is it properly drafted? Did somebody test it out? And I feel like sometimes I have so many questions for the design group, right? When someone creates a design, right? You create one master pattern, right? I believe it's usually size 8, and then they grade it up or down from that. Does anybody test out the upgraded kind of sizes, right? To make sure that this fits. I think I'm having a little bit of issues with that lately, just because a lot of these patterns that I have been trying from the big four, some of the patterns are just not going together properly, right? And it's a little bit frustrating. So I wanted to ask you guys, have you been trying some of these patterns on your own? And the gist of this video is, I'm glad I made the muslin, and I'm glad I am, and I'm making muslins, guys, because we have inflation, right? I mean, eggs are like almost $10 by us for a dozen eggs, which is craziness. But I'm trying to really be um, targeted with my purchases of fabric and not waste, and really make sure that what I'm buying is going to get used. And if you guys see my stash of fabric, I think I have like 20 fabrics. That's it. I try not to go crazy with that stuff. I see some other people and they have a stash that it is like, I'm like, wow, I can probably go shopping by you. Um, and that's okay. I'm not judging anybody. If you have the means and ways to have an amazing stash, that's wonderful. I do not. I do not. So I'm trying to be really targeted with what I am purchasing and I am spending money on. So I'm really glad that I'm making these muslins to just make sure that I like the fit, right? Before I go and cut into my expensive fabric. Like, for example, right? I have my muslin here from the Fira dress, and it is long enough that I can cut that muslin and use it for something else. Same with this. I will, I'm sure, cut this into something else and piece it with something else and test something out together. And I've been a little bit kind of disappointed in some of these patterns that I think the design is great, but they're not properly drafted. I hate to say that, but they're not. Um, I put some notes if you want to make this pattern on my blog about things that perhaps you should keep in mind as to, stick with this type of fabric, perhaps stick with view A, and perhaps if you are busty like I am, perhaps you should just let this pattern go. And if you have it, you may want to return it. So let me know in the comments below, have you had a sewing fail, and have you been able to catch it before you go into cutting into your nice fabric? And guys, I am creating another video for what my plans are for going into fall, colors that I'm looking at using. I bought some amazing wool fabric for a coat. So that is going to be coming up pretty soon. Again, I'm sewing super slow because I'm just not in. I'm having low motivation these days, and I suspect this because I told you guys my daughter is still at home and she still has this week to go. And then we have Labor Day weekend, and then next week she is definitely in school full time. So I'm trying to just dedicate a little bit more time to her than be down here ignoring her in the sewing dungeon. So I will see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.